All right, everyone. The other day, Dougburgum dropped out of the GOP primary. He was polling in 7th or 8th place at like 0.6, so he didn't really have a shot. The most he ever polled at was like 3 points, I think, on a poll a couple of times. So he never really had viability. Former governor of North Dakota, by the way, he decided to throw his hat in the ring. Here's why he never got traction. First and foremost, he waited. The field was already filling in. You had several people that were sort of competing with name recognition, like people knew who they were. People knew who Ron DeSantis was. They know Nikki Haley. They know Chris Christie. At first, they didn't know Ramaswamy, but he decided to be the zany candidate, and so he sort of, shot out of a cannon. And of course, that trajectory has started to come back down. He'll probably be out of the race at some point too, although he can self-fund. He's massively wealthy, just so people are aware. Burgum, faced with that slurry of people, Mike Pence, for example, I mean, nobody liked him. He never had a coalition, but at least people knew his name, mostly for the worse. With Dougburgum, most people didn't even know who he was. Governor of North Dakota. Well, that's not the most esteemed position for people outside of the Dakotas. In the Dakotas, you get recognized. You go to Maine or you go to Florida, people are like, huh? What? Where's North Dakota again? Is it north of South Dakota? I don't know. It is geography, no longer taught in U.S. schools. Some people probably would legit think that North Dakota was on the bottom. You could probably convince maybe 1 in 10 people that was the case. And then make up some sort of fake historical reason why they switched or something like that. Well, it was a war of the names, it was when they carved it apart, one of them formed first. And they got it wrong on the official documentation. There are people that believe that. Try it sometime. Yeah, people believe anything. Dougburgum, though, was never really in. Here's the problem for Dougburgum, beyond the name recognition. The GOP didn't like him either. It is quite clear from the treatment of Dougburgum specifically and explicitly by the GOP unipartyists that they really did not like this man. I don't know exactly why. He's not a dedicated populist MAGA type. I don't know. By the way, he didn't endorse anyone. He pulled a Pence and decided to sit it out. Tim Scott never endorsed anyone either. The only one that did was, can't remember, what's his name, dropped out and endorsed Haley. That was months ago. And I think that's the only dropout endorsement we've seen so far in the race. Hutchinson will probably be out pretty soon, and we'll see if he endorses someone. He seems more of a DeSantis dude than anything. Dougburgum, though, in a field that crowded, was not going to be able to get traction unless he did a good job at the debates. And when he was once on the debate stage, before they changed the rules specifically to cock-block him, and to screw with a few other candidates in the process, to narrow the field down that's on the debate stage, so that people get longer to talk, and he can focus more on the candidates that have viability, he had to really knock it out of the park in order to pull like a Ramaswamy. And he was unable to do that. It's flummoxing as to why he bothered to remain in the race for so long when it became clear he wasn't going to return to the debate stage with each pending qualification getting higher and higher. It was clear he would have to drop out. At this point of the also-rans lacking viability, so not Trump, DeSantis, or Haley, the only one likely to remain in through Super Tuesday would be Chris Christie. And we might not even see that many people in the field. Burgum is out. Hutchinson will probably drop out before Iowa. I'd be surprised if he bothers to stay in. Ramaswamy could lose interest. By the way, that'll be a Trump endorsement, I believe. And then we'll see what happens from there. It'll be 4 people effectively in the race. Your nominee, Donald Trump, who wins. The 2 also-rans vying for second place to save face, Haley and DeSantis. And then the dude who's literally just there to be an ass and make a fool of himself in the process, which is Chris Christie. Burgum was never going to win. Once it became clear that other people had sort of taken the fore for that second place position, started getting endorsements. I don't think anyone endorsed Dougburgum of any particular political note. It became clear that that was going to compact the race. Dougburgum may or may not decide to endorse somebody. In the end, Donald Trump will be the nominee, so, I would think it would be the safe bet throwing your hat behind him. But we'll see. We'll see about that. My prediction remains effectively unchanged, though. The trajectory of the race is very much tacking along what I expected. Trump has now hit the magic 60. In fact, he's at almost 62 at the moment in aggregated polling. He appears to be rising again. Ron DeSantis has flatlined at around 13. Haley has begun to level off a little bit below that, although she does better in a couple of the starting states. What happens from here is Trump wins Iowa, depressing literally all of the other candidates, and clean sweeps the first four. At that point, either Haley or DeSantis is probably already out of the race, and I would suspect if DeSantis isn't batshit, if he doesn't win Iowa, and he won't, numerically he's just too far behind. Well, we'll see what happens in polling after the, we haven't gotten any new Iowa polling recently, by the way, with the Reynolds and the Vanderplats endorsement, and I would think that the polling firms would want to wait a couple days after those endorsements, which they have, and then release a whole slew of polls so that you can see if the metric has changed. Because they clearly hate Trump, what they would be hoping for is that Trump has suddenly dropped 10 points and Ron DeSantis took off like a goddamn rocket, and then they can push the justification of, oh, yeah, he can still make it, and win the first state. You'd think they would want to. For some reason, they are dragging their heels on conducting post-Reynolds endorsement and Vanderplat's polling in Iowa and New Hampshire. It's very, very strange. Burgum was never really in the race, though. Not in it to win it. I don't know why he thought... I think that he thought that if he was forcefully spoken and sort of straddled the line between nice candidate / outsider, kind of rubs him the wrong way with the GOP unipartyist, but also is not like full-on MAGA or something like that. I think he thought that that balancing act would work. The problem is Tim Scott had the nice guy vote locked down. And the whiffly-waffly vote was, for a while there, was probably Pence. That was probably... And when he left, all of it went to Haley, because she's like the premier neocon. So there was never any political home for Dougburgum in the race. It will play out as I expected. Trump is going to clean sweep the states, most likely, unless something really big happens between now and Iowa, which I just can't really see happening. There's probably just not enough time left before voting begins for that to happen. That's about all. Peace out.